Hello, trust you're doing great. I just want to share something real quick with you. So, several years ago, my first job after youth service was in Radio Nigeria, Payseta FM, and I worked there for 32 months. I was a presenter in my state, in Radio Nigeria in my state. And, this was something I really wanted to do. Because of that, I studied theater arts and I majored in media arts in my final year. Although the plan was for me to go into acting and directing, but because I gave my mom my word that I wasn't going to acting, I wasn't going to specialize in acting, because as a theater arts undergraduate, you're exposed to other areas of specialization of theater arts. From your first year to your third year is a 4-year course in the school I attended, and then in your final year, which is your fourth year, you major in a particular area of specialization. It could be technical design, which involves lighting, costume design, makeup, special effects and all, directing, acting, choreography, media arts, playwriting, and all the rest of them. So it was a battle for me to study theater arts. When I told my mom that I wanted to study theater arts, my dad was, whatever you want to do, I support you. But my mom wouldn't hear of it. Okay, I'll save this story for another day. So I gave my mom my word that I wasn't going to specialize in acting. So I opted for media arts. At that time, I had, started nursing the idea and the passion for broadcasting. So 6 months after youth service, compulsory youth service, I got a job in Radio Nigeria in my state, Abia State, and I was so excited to, have the job of my dream. And, prior to that time, I didn't actually have a training prior to getting the job, right? But I rehearsed news. I read a lot of newspapers, journals, trying to imitate Ruth Benamesia Opia then, Seal Stober, and Tokumbo Ajayi of NTA, all those broadcasters of NTA. Tokumbo is late, God rest her soul. So these were broadcasters in NTA that I really looked up to as my role models. So I tried to rehearse newspapers, journals as if I was reading news. So that was the only training I did by myself. So long story short, I started working. The third week, I was a greenhorn. Prior to that time, I was giving little tags in the radio station, just read news brief, news summary, which was just a few minutes. It wasn't the main news bulletin. So I was just exposed to just little tags here and there and I grew on the job. Now, the third week of resumption, something happened and it changed the trajectory of my journey in broadcasting and my career as a broadcaster, a young broadcaster. So that day was Monday. I remember that day very vividly, like if it was yesterday. So that day, I was on duty. I was a DCA, a duty continuity announcer. So we run shift. And I was on a morning shift. And my morning shift then usually ended about 5:30 p.m., right? And the person for the night shift would take over from me. So there is a 6 p.m. major news bulletin that will be read. And the person that was supposed to read that news bulletin, the major news for 6 p.m. was my boss, my line manager, who was the controller programs then. We call her Auntie Onyinye. So she's a very punctual person. She always came to work early and, so she usually would come to work by 5 p.m. If she doesn't come by 5 p.m., maybe 5:15 or maybe 5:30. She always got to the office, to the station before 6 p.m. So that very day, that fateful day, 5 p.m. Auntie Onyinye was nowhere to be found. 5:15, Auntie Onyinye was nowhere in the building. I didn't set my eyes on her. 5:30, still no sign of her. And I said, okay, maybe she will come in like maybe let's say 5:35, 5:45. She's a professional. She's been in the industry for so long. So even if she came in by, let's say, 5:45, she would definitely read the 6 p.m. news. So 15 minutes to 6 p.m., Auntie Onyinye was nowhere in the building. I went to look for her. I went to the programs office. She was not there. Already, the manager programs had come to me to say, oh, the news is ready. The 6 p.m. news bulletin is ready. Who is going to read it? I said, it's Auntie Onyinye. But when I saw that Auntie Onyinye wasn't forthcoming, I had to step into the breach. But I was very scared. I hadn't done this before. I had only, I was only exposed to reading news, the news summary, which was like short news just to summarize the whole news. So, but here was the major news. Sorry, excuse me. And everybody was listening. And I was a greenhorn, just 3 weeks old in the station. 10 minutes to 6, I was hoping, praying, Auntie Onyinye was not there. So I started rehearsing the news. I got everything ready, all the inserts, all the news inserts, all the commercials that will come in the middle of the news, everything. I just had everything ready, made everything ready, put everything together for her. Auntie Onyinye was nowhere to be found by 10 minutes to 6. I said, okay, maybe 5 minutes. She's a broadcaster. She's a professional. She can, pull it off. Even if she steps into the what's it called? The station by 5 minutes to 6. But when it dawned on me that Auntie Onyinye was not coming was when it was 5 minutes to 6, 3 minutes to 6. I had to sit down, got ready for the news. I read this news. 5 minutes into the news, 6 p.m. news, major news bulletin, I saw Auntie Onyinye walk into the monitoring room. So there is this room, adjoining room to the live studio. So what separates the room and the live studio is a glass. So it's very transparent. You see what's happening. So you can be there and, monitor what's happening in the live studio. So Auntie Onyinye walked into the monitoring room. And I just saw her like this. What did this one do? So I just composed myself. I finished reading the 6 p.m. news and signed off. And she came into the studio. She said, well done. Uche, you did well. I said, Ma, have you been here? She said, yes. She got to the office like 5 p.m. But she went to hide in one of the offices. I never checked her. She had her radio monitoring me. I said, you set me up. But guess what? After that, incident, that was how I was roasted for major news bulletin. She said, you're good. And nobody would believe that that was your first time. That's to say that it changed, like I said, it changed the trajectory of my broadcasting, years as a young broadcaster. And, subsequently, she started giving me a lot more, tags. And even when she went on leave, there was this program she was handling, a funny program. She said, Uche, you're going to handle this during my leave. I said, what? I haven't done a phone in program, a live program that people will call and then you're responding to them. She said, I know you're capable. I've seen what you've been able to do. Now, that made me feel so good about myself, like, oh, I'm doing something, I'm actually contributing to this, I'm growing and all of that. And did I tell you, she gave me more tags, more programs to, present and produce. Now, that is what a good boss, that's what a good line manager does, right? And I honestly think that it's important for us to, give subordinates, people under you, your subordinates, your employees, give them opportunities for growth. Even things that may not even be connected to their job description. That is how you grow people. That's how you mentor your subordinates. That's how you mentor your team members. That's how you mentor your employees as an employer. I think we just need to normalize appreciating people and commending employees and team members when they get the job done. Pay raises are good, bonuses are good, incentives are good, but beyond everything, employees want to hear their employers, team members want to hear their team leaders or team leads or managers commend them for good job when they do the job. It's not just throwing them under the bus and having the boss run over them. Employees want to know that they are appreciated, that they are not just sitting, occupying space in organizations or in companies, that they are contributing to the growth of the company or the organization they work in. Employees want to hear their bosses, they want to hear their managers commend them, tell them, I know I appreciate what you do here. If possible, write it. Some years ago, one of my elder sisters worked with a C-suite executive, right? And upon her resignation, she got a job somewhere, or she was relocating to another city. And the boss wrote something, and my sister bragged about it. So when she, started getting interviewed for other jobs, one of the organizations that interviewed her just asked her randomly, what would your former boss say about you? And she said, wow, okay. She boldly told the person that was interviewing her that her former boss would tell them that were interviewing her that they were about hiring an asset. And true to her words, that was what her former boss said when they sent, a reference form to her former employer. She brags about that till today. The man wrote a letter, a short note, appreciating her. You can write something, a short note. Your employees will be so appreciative of that. Beyond the pay raises, beyond the bonuses, beyond the incentives. Can you single one or two of your team members, one or two of your employees, and really appreciate them and commend them for the work they do in the organization? I honestly think that employers and team leads or managers need to normalize commending their team members and employees. To every employer, to every manager, please make it a conscious effort. If you have team members who are really working hard, let them know that they are making an impact in your organization, in your team. Don't throw them under the bus. Don't criticize their work. And when they get the job done, you don't appreciate them. It will encourage them to do more. That's what encourages employees to go the extra mile, to go over and above and beyond for you, the employers and the team leads or managers. I don't know who needs to hear this, but this is just an employee just speaking the minds of some employees in Nigeria and around the world. Employees want to be appreciated. Employees want to be commended for the work they do in the organization. They want to know that they are not just sitting pretty in the organization, the work, and just get paid at the end of the month. They want to know that they are doing something, and every work they're doing is making an impact, a positive impact in the organization they work with. I hope you were able to pick a thing or two from this video. Thank you, and have a nice day.